for fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins. Make sure you guys go check out my sponsor, Easy Mutt. Use code VENOM at checkout for 5% off. Yo, what's good guys, Venom Fire here, back from the video, and today I'm bringing you guys my full gun ace slot offset updated scheme. Now again, I'm going to start updating some of these offenses, especially the ones I did within like the first month of Madden, even the second month, just because a lot of stuff has changed and those videos are very outdated with some of the meta stuff. So we're going to be updating the ace slot offset. This is going to be out of the Patriots offensive playbook. Now, one ability I do recommend that you guys use is going to be at least one tight end apprentice. Now, this can get really nice, especially with like a hot route master, but if not, I do recommend getting at least one tight end apprentice. That's what we're going to use with Darren Waller here. So we just got some fast receivers and a decent running back there. Again, two tight end set. New England Patriots offensive playbook. Here's a look at what I like to do with my audibles. Very balanced formation. We got posts, PA bubble, levels, Y sail, and this buck sweep play. Now, there's also an 0-1 trap. But I actually like buck sweep better right now, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Also, before into the video, make sure you guys do go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers, so go ahead, drop a like, and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Alright guys, here we are out on the field, and as far as defense is concerned, I'm going to kind of be alternating between man and zone, kind of like I do for every single offensive video. Now, what makes this formation really good is the run and pass balance. You kind of got to establish the ground game first, and then you can get into some of the really glitchy passes. Again, I don't think this formation is super successful as far as a, pass the ball 30 times a game type of formation. I don't really think that you can be super successful in it, putting the ball in the air that much. So we're going to start out with one of our run plays. It's going to be the PA bubble. Now, this is going to be basically our inside zone for the video. Again, I always think that there's no reason to run an inside zone over something like a PA bubble, just because it's going to take one guy out of the play, and it's going to be that slot cornerback. It takes away the chance of him ever getting a block shed, so there's not really, again, too much of a reason. Now, as far as shooting the gap, I feel like this formation is pretty difficult to gap shoot. I'll try and set up like some of the run defenses. You would probably be like standing here, I think, and then you kind of run through, shoot the gap. I'll try and kind of use the two controllers. You see how he ends up making the tackle, but even with some bad stick work right there, I probably should have taken the outside. Again, just relatively simple. You see we have some decent sized holes there. We are in 3-3-5 wide, which is a pretty heavy and balanced defensive formation, but we do have some offensive holes right there. You see able to cut it back. Now again, we're getting shedded a lot. This Titans defensive line is decent with their players, their block sheds. But again, PA bubble, if it's not man coverage, if they do mix in zone, that bubble's going to be a little bit more throwable. So if I audible on the defensive side of the ball to something like a cover 3, then I do believe this becomes a little bit more throwable of a ball as we get instant shedded. But yeah, again, just mix it in, especially like zone. They're going to shift their line to the other side. Something like this, I could easily throw it there and end up picking a decent gain up right there of around 5 yards. So again, PA bubble. Something like this, it's not going to be too good against, but depending on what formation, especially like a big dime, whatever, it can be a lot better. Anyways, let's move on to our first passing play, which will be this posts play. By far, in a way, the best passing play in this entire formation. Post, it really has it all. Just taking a look at our player, we got a nice corner out from Darren Waller. We got a corner out from Deshaun. Quick breaking one, we have this deep post with Marquise Goodwin, and then we also have our stock angle route. So again, you don't need backfield master because you have a stock angle route, and then in levels Y sail, you have a stock table route. So moving on, we're going to hop into our first setup. Now really, I'll just show it stock first because stock, it does have some options. You have a corner route, you have a flat, you have another corner route, and then you have this angle route. Against man coverage, I mean, it's not going to be too necessarily good, especially with like none of these abilities. The man coverage is really going to do pretty well. Now we do have a corner out with Darren Waller that can get some separation. You see right about there. Now it's not as good of a corner out as you would like. For example, if I do smart route it, it does become shorter, but it doesn't seem to burn man coverage all that often. You see even with the high ball, I don't really have too much separation. Now I know that is a cornerback. Sometimes they'll be man up on safeties. But again, not too much separation. But again, stock's not going to be the way we're going to run it. Our first setup for this play is actually going to be similar to, we're going to take some trips tight end concepts and kind of apply them to this formation. It's overall Very similar to trips tight end in the format. You see 3 receivers to the left. We got our tight end to the right, running back on the same side as the tight end. The only difference is obviously the tight end on the left side. But again, that's going to help in the run game, so there are pluses and minuses. Now our first setup, what I'm going to do is, again, just create overall a very similar setup to curl flat out of trips tight end. I'm going to smart route X. I'm going to flat B. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag Y, and that's overall it. I can also smart route A. Now this corner route in particular is not super good in my opinion. It's a pretty quick breaking, so it's difficult for it to get over the top. You see it didn't get over the top as I accidentally pump fake, but you have the drag. That corner route's going to do a very good job of opening up the drag, but in the case that they do double flat, it's going to be relatively defended well. So I don't have to smart out A. It comes down to personal preference. You can if you want to. You don't necessarily have to, though. So again, that setup was smart out X, flat B, drag Y, and overall that's it. You see against cover 2 in particular, even against man coverage, Marquise Goodwin can get separation on that, especially if you have route technician. He's going to do wonders for you in that X spot. Again, one last time, smart out X, and you see when you smart out X, he's actually making his break at around 5 yards in the play art, whereas you would expect him to kind of be at 10. So I definitely do recommend smart routing him. Again, as far as our other routes, we just have some nice corner routes, nice drag, even man coverage. Goddard's going to get some nice separation because he's from the tight end slot and he cannot get pressed at the line of scrimmage. So let's move on, take that a little bit of a step further. What we're going to do differently is simply just put X on a curl this time, create a complete curl flat setup instead of having him on the post route. So again, if it were cover 3, I could step up in the pocket, I could throw it to B. Geez, that no gunslinger is hurting me, but again, just simple curl flat concept. You have an angle route, you have a corner route. It just gives you some nice options. Even if it is, man-to-man coverage, you can get that curl route open if you just aggressive catch it. So we'll just snap the ball here, kind of step up. That angle route's always going to be open. I can aggressive catch that curl route as well. So again, good against zone, good against man as well. And yeah, let's move into our next setup out of this post play. What we're going to do now here is we're just going to go ahead and smart out X. I'm actually going to cross A though, so I'm going to put A on a crosser. Now as far as your other routes, you have a couple of choices. Now I don't really like to have a crosser and angle route going to the same side. So usually what I'll go ahead and do is either like drag B and then I'll just flat B, or drag Y and then I'll flat B or even hitch B. So I can do something like this. Now I don't really like to hitch B too much in this case because sometimes these posts and these hitch, if it's man-to-man coverage, will get pressed. They'll get very close to each other and kind of take away 2 at once. So I'll usually just flat him like this. But again, it's a decent play. It gives you options, with multiple hot route masters. I could do a little bit more with this, but this is a pretty solid setup. If you do ask me, you see the post route, crosser combo. It is a pretty good high-low read. We'll have some more of that stuff in other plays. But again, just smart out X, flat B, drag Y, and cross A. You can also post A, but the post-to-post combo is definitely solid, but they literally run almost identically into each other, whereas that crosser, depending on if it's deeper or shorter, usually they will run in different areas of the field. One last time, we're putting A on a crosser, blocking a running back, flat or dragging Y, and flatting B, smart out X, just like this. Kind of scramble out of the pocket here, make our throw. And yeah, it's a good play with a good tight end. Again, you'll get pretty good separation with that little crossing route. But let's move in to our next run play, which is going to be this buck sweep. Now, buck sweep has become a pretty popular run, specifically out of that trips tight end offset that is in that New York Jets offensive playbook. I do believe it's also in Seattle as well. But this buck sweep is just overall very difficult to shoot. Of course, Darren Waller is going to get shedded there. But overall, it is a pretty solid run. If you ask me, it's pretty difficult to gap shoot, so it's going to come down to getting like block sheds, things like that. Look at it here. You see just the blocks develop really well for you. You don't really have to do a whole lot with your user-controlled running back as far as, shooting a gap, deciding where to run. Really, the blocks just almost develop for you here. Now, again, you'll have times where you get instant shedded. Darren Waller's not exactly a blocking tight end. But again, as far as shooting the run, you can get to the outside occasionally as Brandon Brooks stands there and does nothing. But yeah, it's a solid run. You can also mix in a little bit of motion if you choose to. So I could motion someone like a Deshaun Jackson across the formation. and then I can still hand it off, and you see the blocks develop pretty well there. Jason Peters again misses a block for us, but it's a pretty solid run, I would say. And again, we're in like a 3-3-5 wide, so it's not going to be super good as I'm in the incorrect play, but yeah, against other formations, you'll obviously have a little bit more success here. But again, even like a 5 yards, pretty solid. Again, test this out online. You'll have some better success than even I am right now. But let's move into our next play, which will be this levels Y sail. Now, first, I got a pretty basic stock setup. What I'm actually going to do is just put Y on a streak and snap the ball. Just kind of a stock setup like this. Now, this isn't going to be exactly super good against man-to-man coverage. You have a couple of in routes. You have a streak. You have a table route. That's not going to really do too much for you. But against zone, and particular zone, something like a setup like this, where you're going to double flat those outside players, something like this, it would be pretty good against, I would say. And then they would probably hook curl him, just like a two-man rush setup. So of course I'm in the wrong play, but you see still able to throw that laser now. So I'll just set up that defense once again. Apologize for that. What did I do here? Okay, set it up like this. Sorry, sometimes these two controllers are a little bit confusing, but here's a look at what you would have on defense. Now we'll run this out of levels Y sail, put Y on streak. It's also very good for quick snapping, so I wouldn't even anticipate that they necessarily have that, are able to get that full setup off, because you just go to the line, you put Y on a streak, and you snap the ball. So again, very easy to snap the ball. Get man-to-man coverage. These in routes can get some separation as well. Again, zone, you can sometimes get that tight end open. Those in routes are pretty solid as well. But let's move into another setup out of this play. Now, what I'm going to do next is create a kind of a curl flat type concept. So I'm just going to put Y on a delay fade here. I'm going to post A. I'm going to slant, or excuse me, I'm going to hitch B, and then I'm going to curl X. So I'm going to do something like this. Then I'm going to motion Marquise Goodwin across. I have a post, hitch, backside curl, and a little table route. Now, you can't motion Marquise completely across the formation, but he still does get in a decent spot in the slot there. Now, again, this isn't a good man-to-man coverage setup really at all. And this levels Y sail play will not exactly be good against man coverage. You don't have any stock routes that are really going to beat man besides that tight end corner route. And again, we've seen that get bagged already. So again, more of a zone coverage beater. Let's run it against zone here, cover 3. Again, you're going to motion Goodwin out. I do believe Goodwin should get a little bit open on this. But again, you can't motion him super far to the outside. You kind of have to snap him right there. But you see, gets in a perfect spot in the zone. I believe Sanders was also open on the flat. And as far as our post to hitch, let's go ahead and throw that next. Let's go with a cover 2 now. But again, if none of those are open, you still have an extra last chance option with Dallas Goedert on his delay fade. Delay fades are pretty good out of this offense because these 6-man protections, it's a lot easier to do that. So again, we'll throw that, fit that in that window there. Again, depending on the coverage, again, level sail more for zone, post more for man. But yeah, overall, pretty solid play right there. Let's create another concept that I like to do with this table route. I'm going to, again, post A. I can also cross him, but here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put X on a smoke screen, and then I'm just going to slant B, something like this. Now, I like to go ahead and motion, or not motion him, but excuse me on that one. I like to go ahead and not motion. For some reason, I thought you could kind of like motion him in a step and quick snap there, but I guess you can't. But yeah, overall, this is our setup. It's pretty solid if you ask me. Now, for all of these, I can actually put Y on a regular streak if I wanted to, rather than going ahead and putting him on a delay fade, so you could actually streak him normally. But yeah, setup again is B on a slant, X on a smoke screen, A on a post, block or delay fade Y. Again, pretty good against zone. It's also good against man coverage, so I can kind of roll out here and then check down. I could check down immediately. Again, it's a decent play. It does give us some pretty solid options as well. Now, if you wanted to use some motion, because that's kind of what I was going to talk about, what I would do is I would probably go with like a setup like this, where instead of putting X on a delay fade, I would actually just put him on a backside drag. So something like this. Then I'm going to motion Goodwin across, and then I have my slant table route, and instead of that smoke screen, I just have a backside drag. So it's a lot of crossing routes. But again, it will be a little bit better for you against man coverage, because that drag's going to do a whole heck of a lot better rather than a smoke screen would. One more time here, the setup was just A on a post, be on a slant, Y on delay fade, and then just put X on a backside drag. Again, with Y, you could do a couple of different things if you wanted to. I could even block my running back and drag Y, but you see, overall, gives you some nice options, specifically against man coverage, and overall, mix in the run a whole lot, like I mentioned, but yeah, it's going to do it for the setup. Pretty simple, small little mini scheme. There's, again, other videos I have posted on this formation, but that's pretty much going to do it. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and peace. I'm out of here.